kit. All right, so I just go ahead and kind of put these in the medicine bottle, which should be waterproof, and then I go ahead and take the striker, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of put these in there like so. Put this in there, and then I can close up my medicine bottle, and it's nice and compact. And then I can keep this in a glove box, or in my pocket or whatever, or in a bag, go bag or whatever. And I've got some matches that work pretty well. So again, this would be this would be plan A, plan B, and then you got, when we talked about the flint and steel and stuff, you got plan C. All right, and then when we get into, now we're going to go into plan D, which is the primitive fire making tools. Okay, and these, I think for the most part, most people get very frustrated with the primitive fire making tools, because everything has to be just right, and you have to practice. All right, again, the time to learn to swim is not when you're drowning. And it's important to experiment with different types of materials. It's good to try it maybe one-handed, like if you were injured. It's good to time yourself, making everything from scratch. Because the scenario that we were given in training is, maybe your loved one or your child fell into a lake and it's the middle of winter, 15 below, and you need to make a fire real quick in the cold. Maybe it's even at dusk, or it's starting to get dark, or it is dark, and worst case scenario you could think of, your hands are freezing for whatever reason. You're wet because you jumped in the cold water to get your kid or your loved one out of the water. And so now quickly, you with every adversity against you, you have to try to make fire, because again, maybe the matches that you had or the lighters you had got wet because you got in the water too, right? So you have to go back to trying to make something from scratch. All right, so it's important to practice your primitive skills, your primitive fire making skills, in the rain, in the snow, when it's dark, when you're tired, when you're injured, not just when it's nice and sunny, 7 degrees out, and you're well rested, full stomach, and in the middle of summertime. That's not when you're going to need your skills. I mean, that's just how it seems to be that the universe works in general. It's just, that's not when things are gonna, when you're gonna be like, haha, I pull out my trusty bow drill, haha, I'll make a fire. Yeah. Can you do it when it's a torrential downpour? Well, I mean, again, that's very rare, but meaning, you're wet, or it's wet outside, the materials that you're finding are wet, just things are not gonna work. So, what I have here is just kind of 3 examples. There's more, as far as the primitive combustion tools. We have the hand drill, and this just requires 2, and you just need the fireboard here, and then you need your spindle. In this particular case, I'm using mullein stalks. Mullein stalks in my region are all over the place. The mullein grows all over the place, and they're a biennial plant, meaning the first year they're low to the ground, second year they grow very tall and they flower, and then they die off. And usually what you can see on the side of the rose is a skeleton. So this is what I have here. They have a pithy center, kind of a really spongy type center, and a kind of hard outside, and these work excellent for as hand drills. All right, but again, it's important to practice with different types. Hickory, oak, cherry, whatever sort of whatever sort of sapling or twig you can find. It's important to try different combinations to make sure you understand the properties of making the hand drill. Making it work is a whole nother different thing. You want to just kind of go down, and it's downward pressure and speed, but it's more downward pressure in this particular technique. If you don't practice, you will get blisters. If you do practice, you will get blisters, but then over time you'll get callous, and your technique will get pretty smooth. Right? Again, I've got a video on the hand drill. There's the floating technique, where you're kind of making your hands working like a locomotive engine or a choo-choo train, where they're kind of spinning back and forth like this, and you're applying downward pressure, but you're staying in one space instead of going down, down, like so. All right. So again, I'm not very good at that, but I've been fairly successful with getting fire with the hand drill. One tip that I know that works pretty well is to make sure that you're on a hard surface. So if you can find a rock or you know, something hard that you can do this on, that really helps a lot versus like just the soft mushy ground. You may get a lot of smoke, you may get some char, but it seems to be a little bit easier to get an ember when it's on a harder surface. That's what I found out over time. Okay, so again, not outside, so I'm not going to go into that, you know, making a whole fire and all this and that, but you know, this is what I keep around for practice, right? And for me, I usually reserve one day, usually Sundays, to practice my skills. I mean, just to go through stuff. Again, that's why I keep this channel, is so that, you know, I can review. If I forget how to do something, I can review it and go back and go, oh, okay, that's how you do that. I can kind of work on it. The next one, this piece here, for those people, the hand drill is more kind of an advanced fire making technique. And what I have here is a piece of buckskin that really didn't get tanned very well, so it's kind of stiff. And so what I did was I kind of made I don't know what to call it, but a hand drill sling, if you will, because it does look like a sling, David and Goliath type of thing. And I've cut some holes in it so it goes around my thumbs like this, and it has a pocket. It has a pocket in the center here like this. And what I can do, or what is done, and it can be, you know, this can be made in many different ways. I just happen to make this out of buckskin. But what can be done is you hook this on the top like so, and I just put it against my body. Hopefully I won't spontaneously combust. If anybody remembers that whole Eddie Murphy SNL skit back in the day, I think it was the 70s, spontaneous combustion. At any rate, you put these on your thumbs, and I can get this on my thumb properly. That one take video magic. But I put this on here, and this is what helps you keep your downward pressure with your thumbs. And then you can take this, and then you can spin your hands like so. All right. It has to sit on the pocket just right, so it doesn't fall out. But this is kind of a helpful tool if you are lacking the strength, or you're not trying to develop calluses. This is often used a lot. This can be made with any kind of cordage and a pouch of some sort. So I just wanted to make sure that I brought this out to share, because it's something that I just kind of keep. I don't really use it. I don't really have it around, but I do keep it kind of in my quote-unquote museum pieces. And so really it's just a piece of, you know, not very well tanned buckskin that I just made into a hand drill sling. So there you go, something to keep. Next we got the bow drill, and the bow drill is, the hand drill is the hardest. The bow drill is one of the easiest methods of primitive fire making. You just need to find a nice stick that's got some, you know, bend to it, got some give to it, but sturdy enough. Here I have synthetic string on. You know, I can make serviceable and very strong string out of, here's natural string, out of nettles work and dogbane work. Milkweed works. Oftentimes in the field with natural materials, you need to make, you know, maybe 1 or 2 strings. All right, because the process is you have to burn your hole first, then you cut your notch, then you go ahead and you make your fire. So one of the things with the bow drill is it's relatively easy. Once you get the mechanics down, it's 5 components. You need a serviceable length of cordage. You need the bow. So 1, 2. A handhold is 3. Fireboard is 4, and then a spindle is 5. And I've got a number of spindles. And what I like to work with for me is something, at least I start out with something as long as from my thumb to my middle finger, like so. That's what I like to start with. Over time they get shorter as you do it, but there's many different tips for this. I may do a bow drill part, you know, redo part 2, kind of explaining some of the pitfalls and some tips in the bow drill. Again, it's another skill that you just have to take some time and learn it and spend time doing it, and then test yourself. Go out and do a day hike and see if you can find the materials that you need off the landscape and make you a bow drill, and see if you can get a fire going. And it's just baby steps. At least if you can get smoke, that's an accomplishment. If you don't get fire, don't be discouraged. It's steps. If you get smoke, that's great. Then later on, maybe the next time you go out, you might be able to get an ember going. Great. Then the next time you go out, you might actually be able to blow an ember to flame. So it's just a progressive thing, and every milestone or every benchmark becomes a success, so that you don't get discouraged. Because these skills, I know reason why a lot of people avoid these skills is because they're hard. They're not easy. They're not, but there's that much more satisfaction and a sense of freedom once you do have them down, or at least you feel that you're competent enough at them, so that if all of your other modern tools fail, you can go back to what Mother Nature is able to provide, and that's very powerful, and that's what's important. That's the fire drill, or excuse me, the bow drill. And then what I have here is I have a pump drill that I made. And actually, I've made this for a drill with a drill tip on there. But oftentimes, these pump drills they can be made in such a way that they can have different fittings on here. And oftentimes, people will use a pump drill to get a fire going. And the pump drill is a mechanical object or mechanical tool that makes uses of centrifugal force. See if I can demo this quickly. So I'm just going to take my blade here, and I want to make a divot, and I hope to be able to make a video on this soon on how to make one. I need to nap another tip. I want to be able to make a longer tip. This one's made out of chert. I'm sure you're not going to be able to see this on camera, but this tip is made of chert. It's not shaped like an arrowhead. It's actually shaped like a drill bit that's designed to fit onto the shaft, right? So essentially how this works is I've made that divot. I'm going to fit my tip in there, and what I want to do is I want to spin this using these stones that I've got sandwiched in here, and they work as a counterweight. So when I pull this up, the centrifugal force has it wrapped, and by me doing this over time, right now it'll drill a hole, right? But then if I had a different fitting on it, it would fit to make a fire. So it works a lot in the way that the way a hand drill would work. But again, see, when I'm just doing this with one hand, and I'm probably not going to get blisters, all right? So, and many people have made these in different sizes too, like huge ones and things like that. So again, I'm really looking forward to being able to make a video and show you how to put this particular style together. There is the bamboo fire saw. There's a fire thong. There is the Fire-Plough. There's the Rudiger roll, and I'm gonna give a shout out to was it Boggy Creek Beast. Check out his YouTube channel, and he's got a really cool friction-based method of making fire that I have yet to try. I want to try that out, but it's really cool. Boggy Creek Beast is that YouTuber's handle, so be sure to check him out. I'll put a link below so that you can learn the Rudiger roll. And let's see, whatever there's another, I can't remember, the fire plunger or the fire plunge or something like that, where it's using the friction of the air to ignite the tinder at the very tip. And again, the main ones that I focus on really from a primitive standpoint is the hand drill. It's the easiest to procure the materials. Bow drill, bamboo fire saw, even though we don't have bamboo in the upper Midwest, and the Fire-Plough. I need to do a video on that. But those would be the four, or rather the three, meaning the bamboo fire saw, that in my region I can find the materials that I need to make a fire. The Fire-Plough is one that you can do potentially with one arm in case you're injured or something like that. There's many other different fire making methods from around the world. YouTube is great for that. You can do research on that. I try to stick with the three that I'm most comfortable with. And then of course, obviously, like I said, there's the pump drill method as well. So there's more I could go in more on the primitive methods, but again, it's kind of not what this video is about. Combustion. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, and I'm going to go into combustion as it relates to, we'll say, electricity. All right, we'll say you know, that light and things like that. So I don't have any examples right now, but I have other videos on that, on making torches using tallow and dead mullein stalk fire heads or cattail flower heads that are dead. They provide serviceable light once you get them lit. Also, there is you can use tallow in a wick, in a shell, or some pottery that you made, or you know, a cracked coconut or whatever. Just a container that you can either make a candle or a lamp for light. So yeah, that's on the primitive tip, and again, I've got examples of that on this channel. Right now, I've got displayed here. I've got kind of flashlights and headlamps. You know, some things to keep in mind that you want to keep with you. This is a smaller flashlight that goes into my daughter's kit, and it's just you know, it actually, I need to change batteries, so we'll talk about that. But I also keep this wrapped with duct tape. And her kit also comes with a headlamp, and headlamps are great to keep your hands free. I recommend definitely getting something like this. Let's see. I like these mag lights, and this is my old kind of bouncy kick. I worked the door for about 20 years straight, and so this is something I put together out of leather. You know, if somebody needed to be detained, citizen's arrest, I had handcuffs. It's important if you do that, that you have training in it, because you can injure somebody if you put these on too tight and leave them on too long, so you could open yourself for a lawsuit. So be careful with carrying handcuffs and that kind of thing. Know your laws. But the way I have this set up, it's kind of very Batman-esque. I have 2 batteries, so we talked about needing to have replacement batteries. I have a writing utensil. This is a Sharpie. A pencil would be best, because Sharpies and pens tend to dry out. Pencils tend to work forever. And then I have my mini mag light. And again, it's been a while here, so I need to change the batteries, but I don't really carry this. I don't really use this anymore. But this has a loop to where it would tie onto my belt. So I would have this, and I used to like to keep the mini mag lights, because from a security standpoint, carrying the big mag light here was kind of, it sent the wrong message to the clientele, because obviously this could be a weapon, you know, and oftentimes, you know, being a bouncer, being security, you walk around with something like this, you're really kind of inviting less intelligent people. You're basically kind of subliminally challenging them to kind of mess with you, and that's the bouncing and security is about avoidance and really being more of a host than being some sort of enforcer or bruiser. But yeah, I've used to carry one of these around, but I've switched to doing something a little smaller again. In a situation, I could make this a palm stick, you know, to reinforce my fist, or to use the inside or the back here, the backside, as a persuasive tool. But anyways, you know, mag lights work pretty well as long as you keep fresh batteries in them. And then this is really for the house or for the home, because this is kind of heavy to carry around. There's all kinds of lights, all these tactical lights out there with all these lumens and da-da-da-da-da-da. Great, whatever works. This is just conceptual. I'm not here to debate which one is better and talk about how bright my flashlights are. I'm just saying these are things you want to keep around. And then there's even a lantern here that works pretty well. This is kind of my camping lantern. Yeah, there it is. And it's, you know, got different settings on it. It's what is it? An Energizer weather ready lamp. It's got different settings when it works. This is funny. but it's got these different settings and stuff. And then on the bottom, it's got this nice little hook. Well, once it's on, but this is pretty old thing, so I probably gonna need a new one. But along Combustion, I kind of put lighting and keeping lights part of that. Let's see here. So there's kind of modern tools and flashlights. Again, as far as such things are concerned, again, keeping batteries around is important. I just replaced these batteries in here because this was drained. It's good to check your batteries from time to time. Again, I can check this one, but usually I just keep this tucked away someplace else. I just brought it out as an example. But for the house, I could probably swap batteries out for this. Check your light bulbs, keep extra light bulbs. How many types of batteries? Have them all. In your house, you can kind of keep a stockpile. Out and about, you can only carry so much. So again, you just realize your battery usage. Even your cell phone, usually have a flashlight setting, but they run out of juice. So on the cell phone tip, make sure you have a power ball, or that it's always not a power ball, power pack, so that you can easily charge it, or have some sort of solar power charger. Again, technology is great, but it's not always reliable, and you can't always carry as much batteries as you need. So it's good to keep some in your kit so that you have a replacement, but it's not for anything long term. Again, that's why being able to go back to primitive technology is generally good. But I just wanted to mention something about batteries. Along the battery tip, I've got this sort of like handheld, or really not handheld, but it's kinetically powered radio. It's got a dynamo in there. Flashlights that have the same sort of function work too. There's a old In Living Color skit where everybody has those new flashlights that you have to shake up and down, that uses the kinetic energy of you shaking up and down to light the flashlight. That skit is really funny. Those do work. You just look funny doing it. Try to get one where you can wind it. In a survival situation, who cares what you look like? But anyways, this works pretty well. The problem is with these is it's caloric output. All right, so you make sure that you have enough calories to intake to continue to wind these, right? And then this works pretty well. This also has batteries in it as well, so it works dually, and it also has a plug-in, AC/DC adapter for plug-in. It's got adapters for charging your cell phones as well. So invest in one of these. It's got a flashlight. So yeah, it's a radio, it's a light, and it's a cell phone charger. So I picked up this. I think it was like 25 bucks. Again, it's not top of the line, but it's something. And then I can go ahead and turn this on.
I'm Elliot. I'm Zach's friend. I'm also 13.
So this works. It's an AM, FM, TV1, TV2, weather, a light, and let's see, and also a siren, and then of course volume and a tuner. So I would highly recommend investing in something like this. There's alternative C's that I'll talk about in another video, but communication would be one, and this would be a full form of communication, or at least getting some information in a grid down scenario. So either a solar powered or a hand crank flashlight and or radio is a good find. Let's see what else we got going on here. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up. I think lastly what I got going on here is it's winter time here in the upper Midwest, and these are just all over the place, and these are hot hand warmers. And it says up to 10 hours of heat. These are really pretty good because you can break these open, you kind of shake them up a little bit, and you can put them in your mittens or your gloves, and they do warm your hands. Or you really can put them in your pocket, so you can put your hands in your pocket and they keep your hands warm. You can also put them in your shoes or boots. So if you're in a place where the weather gets cold or it's it changes, you know, right now. I would invest in getting a few of these and keep them in your kit, keep them readily available. They definitely, when your fingers get really cold in the winter, it's not a good thing. It kind of can be painful and debilitating. And something else, you know, when you're checking your preps and things like that, you know, make sure that you know, changing for the season. You know, make sure you're checking your kit, make sure you have what you need, you know, for the season. Obviously, if it's hot climate, you want to have something where you can shake it up. The similar to this, but the opposite. It's cold pack. So you can put the cold pack on the back of your neck, you know, or something to keep your temperature regulated. Keep food cold, etc., etc. So, you know, just think of the season and what the resources like and what you got going on. So, again, I probably have missed some things. These are wide areas to cover. I'm not trying to be specific. I'm just trying to give ideas. If I miss anything, feel free to go ahead and comment. Again, I do these videos to archive. You know, this sort of subject matter in regards to concepts is kind of a new thing for me talking about, and it's not really within my purview. I really like to stick to the primitive tech stuff. But if this is valuable to you, if you like it, please feel free to hit me up, you know, via PayPal. Throw something in the tip cup. It's the link is below. Other than that, the next one that I will be doing will be cover, and that should be. And then I'll briefly talk about some of the other alternative C's that I would add on versus the basic 5 C's of survival. So that's what I got going on for combustion, and I hope this was valuable too. Sorry for rambling on.